She said, "I'm not your maid, do it yourself." A week later, what she found upon returning left her speechless. I'm 28 years old and I had been living with my 26-year-old girlfriend, Claudia, for about 8 months. We had been dating for 2 years when she decided to move into my 2-bedroom apartment. At first, everything worked well. We split the rent 50-50, even though the lease was in my name, and she helped with household chores. She washed the dishes and vacuumed occasionally, but after a few weeks, she stopped. By the 3rd month, I was doing everything: cooking, cleaning, laundry, grocery shopping, while also working full-time as a software developer. Claudia, on the other hand, only worked about 25 hours a week at a boutique. I tried talking to her several times. "Honey, can you take care of the dishes tonight?" I asked. "I have a deadline to meet." "I'm exhausted," she replied. "I've been working nonstop. Can't you do it?" Weeks went by, and she was always too tired, too stressed, or too busy watching TV. I was putting in over 50 hours a week at the office, only to come home to a sink overflowing with her dirty dishes. 2 weeks ago, the breaking point came on a Saturday morning. After a long night of work, I returned home to find empty pizza boxes, wine bottles, and makeup strewn across the bathroom. Apparently, she had invited her friends over without telling me. I stood there furious, staring at the mess. In the bedroom, Claudia yawned and said, "What are you complaining about? I cleaned the apartment 2 days ago." "Enough playing housekeeper," I responded. "We live together and everyone should clean up their own mess." She sat up, pulled the comforter over her face, and muttered, "Well, I'm not washing dishes or sweeping. I pay my share of the rent. Cleaning isn't my problem." Moments later, she turned over and went back to sleep, leaving me surrounded by her mess. That's when something clicked. She was right, she wasn't my maid, and I didn't want to be one either. So I replied calmly, "Fine, you're right." Claudia smirked triumphantly, hugged her pillow, and fell back asleep. Meanwhile, I had already set my plan in motion. I called my friend Javier, who was looking for a place to live. "Dude, I need your help," I explained. "I want to rent out the spare room in my apartment. When would work for you?" he asked. "Next weekend." "Perfect. My lease ends in 2 weeks, so I could move in before then." Officially, Claudia wasn't on the lease, so I had full rights to sublet the second bedroom. During the following week, I acted like the perfect boyfriend. I cleaned every corner of the apartment without mentioning our arguments about chores, letting Claudia think I had given in. She, delighted, bragged to her friends on a video call about having tamed me. Meanwhile, I brought in boxes, took a photo inventory of my belongings, desk, bookshelf, work equipment, and gathered all the necessary documentation. On Thursday, before the change, she told me she was going to her sister for the weekend. "I'll be back Sunday night. Make sure the apartment is tidy," she said. I smiled and replied, "Sure, have fun." On Friday, as soon as Claudia left, Javier arrived with his truck. First, I cleared my belongings from the spare room. Then we carefully packed her things, clothes, makeup, her selfie ring light, into boxes and stacked them in the living room. Javier brought in his furniture, bed, dresser, even his gaming console, and installed a lock on the door, as is standard for legal roommate agreements. On Sunday afternoon, when Claudia returned and found me cooking in the kitchen, she couldn't believe her eyes. "What's all this?" she asked, pointing at the boxes. "Hey, honey, how was your visit?" I replied. "My room is full of boxes, and the door, why is it locked?" "That room isn't yours anymore, it's Javier's. He moved in on Friday." "What?" she exclaimed. "I live here." "Yes, you live here, and you can keep living here. The pull-out couch is waiting for you if you want to keep your space. But remember, I'm the one who pays the rent and signs the lease, and contracts are meant to be followed." Her expression cycled through shock, anger, confusion, and rage. I added, "You said you wouldn't clean because you're not my maid, so now I'm sharing the apartment with someone who actually contributes. Javier has already washed the dishes and cleaned the bathroom. An adult would know how to do this without arguing." She stood there, silent, unable to respond. Meanwhile, I enjoyed my tidy kitchen and the certainty that from now on, household chores would be split between 2 people, not just one. Update: 3 days later, her sense of entitlement went into overdrive. First, she tried to guilt-trip me. She cried, accusing me of betraying her and destroying our trust, claiming I should have talked to her first. "I did talk to you," I said. "You clearly stated you weren't my maid. I heard you loud and clear." Out of options, she tried to force her way into Javier's room while he was at work. Our new door camera caught her trying to pick the lock with a hairpin. I sent the video to the landlord and Javier for documentation. When that failed, she threw a public tantrum. She posted a story on social media about a supposed abusive boyfriend who terrified her by moving a stranger into the house, conveniently leaving out the 8 months she didn't lift a finger for chores. Her friends started flooding my phone with messages. I blocked them relentlessly. Still, she refused to clean. She seemed to believe that if she held out long enough, I'd kick Javier out. But no, Javier and I set up a chore schedule. It was simple, alternating cooking days and deep cleaning the bathroom on Tuesdays. Javier followed through without issue. Living with him was like living with a responsible adult. In contrast, Claudia left coffee cups on the counter, makeup residue in the bathroom, and empty containers everywhere. Javier cleaned around her messes, and the contrast was stark: spotless counters with a single untouched coffee stain, a gleaming bathroom except for a corner of makeup powder. It was like a piece of performance art. On Thursday night, she tried an ultimatum. "I won't pay rent if I don't have my own room," she said. "Fine," I replied. "Then you have until the 30th to move out. That's the legal notice period." Her disbelief was immediate. "You'd choose a roommate over your girlfriend." "I'm choosing someone who contributes over someone who thinks they're too important to wash a dish," I answered. She stormed off to the living room, slamming things around until 2 a.m. Javier came out once and asked for quiet. "I have work tomorrow," he said. She insulted him. He just shrugged and went back to bed. By Friday morning, I noticed my Tupperware with the week's meals was missing. I found them in her boxes, still containing the dinner I had prepared. She was literally stealing my food instead of cooking or buying her own. I asked Javier, "What are you cooking for her now too?" He laughed and said, "Nope, I handle my own meals and wash my dishes like an adult." Then she made her final mistake. On Saturday afternoon, while Javier and I were playing video games in the living room, Claudia showed up with 3 friends without warning. They acted like they owned the place, making noise, leaving trash, and even hurling insults at Javier when he went to get water. One of them spilled coffee on the table. Javier and I exchanged a look, and I knew it was time. "Claudia, your guests need to leave now," I said. "Listen, I pay rent. I can have friends over," she replied. "I read your lease agreement. Daytime visitors can't harass other tenants, and overnight guests require permission," I countered. Her friends left, but they left behind pizza boxes, soda cans, and makeup strewn across the bathroom. Happy to have embarrassed me in front of her friends, she said, "Actually, you embarrassed yourself by acting like a spoiled teenager. Clean up your mess or I'll start the formal eviction process on Monday." She laughed confidently. "You're not going to evict me. You love me." Javier came out of his room. "Buddy, I'll help you find a new girlfriend. This one's defective." Update: a week later, still thinking I was bluffing, I handed her a 30-day eviction notice on Monday. Everything was in order: proper legal documents, state requirements met, and drafted by a lawyer friend to avoid any objections. Claudia read the papers and couldn't believe it. "Are you serious?" she asked. "Completely," I replied. "You have 1 month to leave." That's when she panicked. She had bragged to everyone that we were practically engaged and had built a perfect couple narrative on social media. Losing that and being left without a place to live hit her hard. "Honey, please, let's talk. I'll try harder," she pleaded. "You had 8 months to try and you didn't," I responded. That same afternoon, she made a dramatic attempt at cleaning. She washed 2 dishes and left them to dry as if she'd climbed Everest. She vacuumed one corner and then posted online about how exhausting adult life was. Javier, witnessing it all, said, "Man, she cleaned 1 square meter and gave up. How have you put up with this?" And that was just the beginning. I came home from work to find a woman sitting on the couch. "Mom, Martin, we need to talk about this situation," came the uncomfortable voice. "Ma'am, with all due respect, there's nothing to discuss," I replied. "Claudia is being evicted for serious violations. But she's your girlfriend. You can't evict love," she insisted, trying to tug at my heartstrings. "You can evict entitlement just fine," I clarified. At that moment, Javier walked by in the hallway. "And who's this man? Why is he living in my daughter's house?" she demanded. "This is my home," I said. "He's my roommate. He pays his share of the rent and helps with chores, a revolutionary concept in this apartment." Claudia's mother, visibly upset, stormed out, grumbling. Claudia, mortified, started with crocodile tears. By Thursday, her plan was revealed. I came home to find her belongings out of the boxes, scattered across the apartment, clothes piled in the living room closet, makeup taking over the bathroom, her vision board hung on a wall. I consulted a lawyer and confirmed my rights as a tenant. As long as it was within the notice period, Claudia could use the common areas, but she made a critical mistake. Javier had the exact same rights. It turned out Javier liked working at 6 a.m. and blasting death metal in the living room, right next to where she slept. On Friday at 6 a.m. sharp, Claudia, half asleep on the couch, begged me, "Can you turn it off?" "Sorry," I replied. "I'm exercising my right to use the common areas." Every morning was the same. She tried to shower during Javier's routine and found the door locked. She wanted to watch TV, but he was practicing guitar. Now Javier is an exemplary roommate, quiet, clean, and respectful, but Claudia got the full dose of an unbearable housemate, all perfectly legal and within his rights. By the 5th day of waking up to death metal, Claudia was a wreck, dark circles, messy hair, pleading with me to ask Javier to lower the volume. "I can't control a tenant's legitimate use of the space," I explained. "Maybe you could ask him nicely or move out early. I'd even help you pack." She tried bribing Javier with $50 to skip one morning, but he declined. Thanks, but I need consistency for my sessions, he said. Final update on day 22, Claudia gave in sooner than expected. The combination of morning death metal, afternoon guitar lessons, and Javier's marathon cooking and kitchen organizing sessions broke her. Still, let's backtrack. On day 18, she filed a complaint with the landlord, alleging harassment and a hostile environment. The landlord came, saw the apartment was spotless, for the first time in months, met Javier, reviewed the documentation, and asked me privately, "Is this the girl who always left trash in the hallway?" "Yes," I confirmed. "I have no intention of renewing her lease." The next day, day 19, she tried seduction. Claudia showed up in lingerie with promises to change. "I'll do whatever you want," she whispered. "Do what?" I asked. "Move out." Javier, from his room, added, "Ouch, emotional damage." On day 20, Claudia called her dad, who showed up with a moving truck. He confessed to me, "I'm sorry, son. We spoiled her. This will be good for her." The move took 6 hours between tears and phone distractions. Surprisingly, her friends didn't show much sympathy. Instead of offering her a couch, they sent her apartment listings. As she left, she threw out, "I hope you're happy. You ruined everything." "I'm thrilled," I replied. Javier had already left the bathroom sparkling, setting a record of 12 hours without mess. "You'll regret this. You won't find anyone like me," she shouted as she slammed the door. "I already did," I said, laughing. Javier. Today, Javier and I are living our best lives. The apartment is spotless, chores are split 50-50, and we share dinners. The guy makes an incredible stir-fry. We've already signed a roommate agreement for another year. From what I hear, Claudia moved back to her parents' house, posting about starting over and how tough life is when you have to wash your own clothes. Someone sent me a screenshot of her profile on a dating app. Her bio says she's looking for a real man who treats her like a queen and doesn't expect her to do household chores. Good luck with that, Claudia. Good luck. Edit for the curious. Yes, Javier is single. He's not interested in anyone who doesn't respect shared responsibilities. He started a TikTok channel about responsible roommate life and already has 400 followers.